This is a Geek Leader podcast, and I'm your host, John Rauda. This show is all about helping us grow as leaders, become better technologists, and improve our lives both at work and at home. I hope you enjoy the show and learn a lot. Welcome to a Geek Leader podcast. I'm your host, John Rauda. And if you could, please do me a favor and take a moment and leave a rating and review in whatever podcast player you're listening to this on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, doesn't matter. I would greatly appreciate it. And that feedback really helps get other listeners to the show. Also, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you feel so inclined, you can go to geekleader.com/tip and donate to the show. Thanks so much. All right, Geek Leaders, today I'm honored to have Rafsan Bhuiyan on the show. He is an Army vet, which thank you for your service, an enterprise AI strategist, and the founder and CEO of OrionQ. So we're going to learn about AI. We're going to learn about what makes or why we should look at making things a little bit easier for us. And anyway, with all that being said, Rafsan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure being on the show. Thanks, John.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just tell the audience a little bit about your background, how you got into technology and what your life in the Army was like and how that led to where you are today.
Sure. So I was born in Bangladesh, and during high school, I moved to the Marianas Island. It's close to Guam. It's an American territorial island. Very few know about it, but there's a lot of Japanese tanks on the beach side, and it's really cool. So to watch. In Saipan, I did high school for 4 years, and I saw that everybody loved joining the military. Like anybody that I know that has lived in Saipan, born and raised. And that sort of motivated me to join I wanted to get into the Marines, but I ended up joining the Army. I love the discipline, the learning, the lessons that I can learn, and how can I implement it into my daily life. I love the way they dress up, how the clothing, the uniform, and, they are a uniformed manner, listening to orders. So I wanted that sort of discipline. And, and I can say that I've learned a lot from the military because I was able to translate it when I was in Microsoft. I was able to translate it when I was in CarMax, building personalization engine that generated billions of dollars in revenue in 2025 because it personalizes the experience of car buying experience for people. T-Mobile, I've worked with AI adoption for over 7,500 executives, having them understand the core purpose and vision for AI, the framework. And I also came up with a saying that AI is a modern day shovel and we should treat it like a tool more than a solution to everything. And that was one of the lessons that, I had to learn alongside with the executives of T-Mobile, that we shouldn't just dive into AI right away, but we should take a step back and see what business problems we have, what are the redundancies, and then measure it somehow. And then finally come together, know your people. Knowing people has never been so important. It's so important to know your people now. So if you know your colleagues and everybody, you can come up with the major pain point and then build a framework and then bring in or develop the AI tool to solve that problem. Working sort of backwards, finding the problem first and then, so that is really me. And I founded OrionQ with all the knowledge that I have. And I want to personalize experience for people in revenue operations.
So let's take a step back. When you talk about all these little processes along the way and, personalizing things. So that seems to be like the big thing that we're trying to do today is if we can personalize things, we can make things, life easier and better for everyone around us, really. And that's kind of like the whole purpose of, implementing AI in a way that you can personalize it to yourself and kind of make it something that, each individual customer can experience things a little bit differently that fits their needs. Is that kind of where you're targeting?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm targeting revenue operations on how it should be. My definition of revenue operations is that it is an alignment between customer experience teams, engineering teams, marketing teams, coming together to use the technology that they have to simplify origination stages for customer. Even if I want to go buy some sort of, candy at the store, there is also a stage, right? I go to the store and I ask, hey, can you give me, a candy, or I hand a candy and we do the transactions. What if this transaction could be very seamless, quick? What if the knowledge I need to understand if this candy is the right candy for me, what if it was super fast and seamless, right? That would make a whole lot of difference. And that is really what I'm trying to solve with RevOps, with AI agentic models, is that we can have the communication problem solved with AI, SMS, email, and then we have a unified digital business card, our one single source of truth that can guide you through origination stage for any business. In fact, even in lending, if you want to upload your document, validate, sign, they all can work in harmony.
So why make it easy for people?
That's a good question. I actually highlighted that in my book as well. I called it the sixth login problem, right? The thing is, when we look at our I feel like the UI is not meant for the AI era. You have this many logins, you have this many tabs open, you have too much going on. And then when you make a phone call to maybe purchase a product or learn more about it, now you have to wait for 15 minutes to get there, and maybe you're driving as you're making that phone call, and it just makes it so much harder. And making it easy for people, we can learn so much with LLMs right now. You type what you need to know, and it gives you the flavor of information you need to know. It explains it. In fact, you can turn an old person into a programmer with just LLMs if you try it hard enough, if you practice that coding enough. So why make it easy for people? It's because the world is changing and we should change with it. And we should understand that information is key for a person. And it's also a human right, right? To understand that product and get the right amount of information that you go. So what if we treated AI voice calls as a search engine? What if I talk to the AI and I talk, okay, you know what? This is an AI. Great. Now I can learn more about the credit card, all the benefits that it provides. Now I can have them make distinction between two different ones on which credit card I would like. And also, have them send me information, digital business card, upload my document, get, to the origination stage and transact. And that is really the goal of AI, is to get to that point. And that is the goal of OrionQ.
Yeah, I just had this very similar experience that I wanted to see how this would work with a cell phone experience. So recently, I've been talking to people at my work about cell phone plans. So I have a plan. I'm not going to mention the carrier, where my wife's on it, and then we added my daughter to her plan, and we pay a certain amount additional per month to add her on there. And I have another person that I work with who has a plan, and he has his kids on his plan, but he pays more. And we're talking about like what you get from it, and it really seems like they're both the same, but he's paying more and I'm paying less, and we're trying to figure out like what the plans are. How cool would it be to be able to, go to call an AI agent and just say, "Hey, I got this. I live in this address. This is my zip code. This is my house. I want to find a cell phone that has good coverage and cover these number of people, that has unlimited data, lets me travel internationally, and you know 5G speeds or something like that, and be able to get which plans fit for me and what the lowest cost is."
Absolutely. That would be amazing. And actually, that's happening right now. In Perplexity, we can see that, you can ask Perplexity these questions and they find you the right plan for you. Now, the thing is, when you want to go get the plan, now you're having to go to that store or find that cell phone. And that could easily be transacted with AI. Nowadays, everything is in social media. You learn about the new iPhone, you learn about the new computer. If you know the model and you want to transact over the phone, I think one phone call should be enough to not only talk about the product, who you are, and then transact over the phone, even providing your credit card information that could be stored in a specific link, which is unified. And then it knows who you are based on your address or social security, whatever that is. And, you transact over the phone and you get that cell phone shipped the next day or have it ready to pick up at Walmart. But yeah, those things are so key to understand. We call it LLMO, large language model optimization, which is the next version of SEO. I want Indian food with this different flavor. I want, Persian food with a different flavor on it, right? Different vegetables. Where can I find that? It should be able to provide fine-tuned details and the restaurant that comes with it. So that is really the goal for revenue ops. And I want to think about a culture shift where we really look at this and understand that this is meant to make our life easier, but we have to have some sort of control. That's why in OrionQ, we don't automate everything. We actually, whenever we do outbound call, we try our best to transfer to a real salesperson. If we are having SMS and the AI is constantly doing takeover, we prompt the person to be, hey, you know what? Now you can take over if you like. And when you log out, the AI can take over the SMS. So these are some of those things that, you checks and balances. You look at it, you approve, and you see how the automation is working and know that you have some sort of control. It changes the entire work culture,
Yeah.
right?
So when it comes to these, like mentioned LLMO is kind of like the next SEO. What should businesses be doing today to make sure that they're ready for these changes? And what do you see like most maybe medium sized small businesses are not doing that they should be doing?
That's a good question. I would say the first step to LLMO is asking the questions, what are some of the queries or prompts that get businesses discovered? So I would urge them to prompt different types of businesses. Hey, can you find me a restaurant with XYZ? Can you find me a SaaS tool that does XYZ? How are those tools are getting found? And then, and as you search, not only you understand the type of questions that are being asked, you can also now go to Perplexity and be like, hey, where can I find a tool that helps me find the right query so my business can be found? Right? It's like you're using a wrapper for another wrapper, which is a wrapper is a term in programming where you create a function with a software and the software becomes a function. And instead of rebuilding the wheel, you just call it. And, and it works in magic. I know that there is a tool called Answer the Public, and you can go there and search for a term and you can see what people are looking for. And, what are some of the things? And maybe some of those questions are not being answered. So you can actually answer those. And if you answer those questions and you have an online presence, how wonderful would be to be discovered in LLMO, because it's about visibility more than anything now. Visibility is so important in this world, because resumes, great. Write-ups, great. But if someone can find you and know you as a real person over a video or a podcast just like this one, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, 100%. So basically, we're talking about ways to figure out, and you can ask. I guess what you're saying is you can actually have AI help you seed your product into their models so that you come up if you do it right, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And AI can help you write prompts for other AI. And I was going through a very frustrated time, like few months ago, where my team was like, Rafsan, I don't understand the UI that we're supposed to develop or your product vision. How do we do that? How do we fit the technology with the UI? And I was thinking, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I got it. So I trained a custom GPT with some code of prompting that I found in some GitHub repository. And I put all those prompt engineering code and trained a custom GPT. And here you go. This custom GPT now built, and I also told it, hey, research XYZ when you want to build a system in XYZ system, right? So if you want to build, like say, a UI in a UX generator, so you can build that. So I found what can I use to build a UI, and I found the UX pilot. And I went there and I'm like, okay, can I generate using prompt? I use my custom GPT to generate the prompt, optimize it for UX pilot, then I placed it in UX pilot, and here you go. The UI was perfect, exactly what I needed to show my design team so they can get the feel of it. Same thing goes for the software generators that we see right now that you can generate software using prompt like Bolt. Um, and these are such components. You don't have to build the entire software, but what if you could show the vision very quickly in less than 4 hours? Your team, you will be saving months. And that's one of those things that I wrote in my book is that just don't focus on saving hours and days. Just focus on something simple that you can automate. And then you'll add a layer after layer as you learn that prompt engineering is saving you time. And if you can learn that tool well enough, then you can optimize not only yourself, your business, your team, and create this culture of human and AI driven automation, right? Working together at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's the key is right there is working together and understanding. I think you said at the beginning of our talk was talking about, understanding the goal, what you want to do with this and being specific with your AI kind of projects and requests and end games, because I've seen, like prototyping, it's fantastic at building a first draft or a first prototype and getting the vision set up and getting the design in a place that's okay. Now we have it ready to build out the rest. And sometimes we need people to come in and do that. And it's working together and not just saying, well, AI is going to do the whole thing. And realizing, well, there's going to be some things that AI might struggle with and some things that it's going to be really good at. And we've got to figure out where those are and where humans need to come in and mesh with it. But I also think just not being arbitrary about it. I've seen some executives, I've even talked to a few of them that are, C-level leaders that are like, oh, we're going to implement AI and become 30% more efficient. Efficient at what? Like, you got to be more specific about what those efficiencies are. Maybe you're more efficient at customer service because you're going to have a chat bot to help answer some questions or redirect things. Yes, maybe. Maybe you'll be more efficient at sales by being able to direct them to the correct product line and things like that. Maybe you'll be more efficient at coding, but maybe you won't be more efficient at, something that requires a more human touch, maybe HR or something like that. You got to figure out where those roles are and what areas could be efficient and which ones still have time.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm starting to get these, whenever I apply for a job, I started to get these AI job bots that you fill out the
Yeah.
form and stuff. To a certain extent, it feels great. But then it's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to answer 20 questions, but I don't see a human talking to me. It doesn't feel valued, right? So you just stop filling out the form. So if that's the case, like, what if we had an AI where you talk to the AI and they're like, hey, whenever you need, we can transfer you to a real recruiter so you can have a real person to person communication. And that AI is so important. Another thing that I think will become very important is identifying yourself as an AI. Because if you identify yourself as an AI, that's great. I think I'll appreciate it because if it's a credit card company I'm calling for, or a product that is a little bit complex, let's say I need a truck that can carry 2,500 pounds exactly with blue headlights, right? And now, I would love that for that search engine to find me that truck instead of talking to a person who's like, wait, hold on, let me put you on hold for 10 minutes and let me look for it, right? So those are some of those things that are very core. And I believe you should start practicing it early because, really persuasion, it's not something that we should try at least right now with AI, but we should make it enjoyable to talk to it, but give it the option to treat it like a search engine. So once it's done and you're ready to transact, it transfers you to a real person, a real salesperson. How was your experience with AI? Yeah, I know it's great and blah, 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 blah. Do the little tweaks and here you go. You have a car with blue light and it can carry 2,500 pounds.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think, right now we've got this mindset shift that's going to be changing, I think, over the next few years, where I can think back like 5 years ago when I called and I got like an automated machine, to talk to my credit card or my, airline. If I'm calling, it's like, press one for this, press two for this. And I'm like, none of those fit my scenario. Why can't I just say what I want? And I like it says, for business, do this, for residential, do that. I was like, well, what if it's a business out of my house? Which one is that? Is that option two or three? I don't know. And you get confused. But I think what you're saying is once we get to fully AI, or something that identifies as AI, but it talks like a person and it has that search engine behind it where I can ask it a question as a person and say, yeah, I'm not sure who I should be talking to for this question that I have, but this is my question. Can you help me? And then it can go, I don't have to press one, two, or three. It'll be able to search all those and give me the right answer.
Absolutely. It should be almost seamless, right? How you, uh, so sorry.
Yeah, no, it should be seamless. Like, everything should just kind of come together
Yeah.
and work in a way that, you don't have to select, because, as a customer, sometimes, like when I call the airlines, especially, and I needed to, we had this thing where we had booked flights and we wanted to change our flights, but we had a non-refundable ticket, or non-upgradable ticket, but you could refund it. So I could cancel my flights and then book another one, but I didn't know which one to go to because I'm like, I do want to book another flight, but I also want to cancel this one. So how do I do that? And I ended up just pushing zero like 15 times until I finally got a person to ask them. But imagine if the first ring, an AI, or let's call it a robot. A robot answers and says, "Hey, how can I help you?" And I say, "Look, this is what I need to do. Can you help me?" And then it just does it. I don't have to wait on hold for an hour. I don't have to do, press the right buttons. It just answers my question in
Right. Absolutely. And that is actually one of the core problems that we're solving. You're right on spot, is that the action trail of action that has been done in an account, right? So you purchase the flight ticket, and then it traps it. Any change on the flight ticket also gets trapped. Nothing gets replaced, nothing gets deleted. What if we can track the origination stages of the flight ticket? How easy would it be to just replace it or get you another flight? And same goes for these resellers of the telco. I actually got discovered by telco through a podcast like this when I was talking about agentic models in January. And a telco clients, big, large telecommunication clients found me. And they're like, Russell, we would love to talk to you about AI. There's some automation that we need to do. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, let's do it. So I learned about telco resellers. I learned about how they sell fiber optic cable services, internet. There's a quantum internet coming, in the next 5 years. It's all awesome, but the frustration is still there for independent sales organizations, for large corporations. The resellers that are selling these, when do we pay them commission and how? And what is their sales record? And the reseller that are selling these, connections, whatever they're at the end of the day, there's huge companies and we're all resellers, right? Where is the commission for me selling this product and working so hard, calling, how do I track that? This is the thing that we solve with our product, with the singular, digital business card. We track all those transactions, we track all those conversations. So when it's time for resellers, okay, like we owe them 3% commission, we owe them 6% commission, back and forth again. And it's also that, oh, you know what? The tickets got cheaper. I think you need a discount because the flights are booked and we're switching you over to another hour. So let's give you a 2% discount for great customer service. If it's raining, maybe if you land in, let's say, Chicago and it's raining and you need a Hertz car to rent, it's an opportunity for Hertz. It may sound bad. Sometimes they make cars expensive based on the weather patterns because everybody's going to be going for that Corolla.
Yeah.
So might as well let's get you a bigger car because the Corollas are all sold out, right? So these are some of those things, personalization that you can do. It helps tremendously when you're trying to buy a car or a product, and it changes based on the tier of items you want to buy, right? Their price range, because you don't want to search for a Mazda and look at Ferraris, right? I mean, I would love to look at Ferraris, but if we do, what if I can't afford it? Then it makes no sense. So conversion is really getting the right thing in front of the person quickly and also giving them the transparency of how is this thing going to transact and how am I going to get this product? And that's it.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense, and I think it's a way to save time. And I guess one of the things that we have to get to is where our some of us that are older, maybe our mindsets are we have been experienced to calling and getting an automated machine and kind of getting frustrated with that process. But now we can get to the point where that's all kind of done for us. And one of the things that I've liked, and I've noticed it happening more and more, is where I can text an automated machine and get like responses back, and I struggle to even realize if I'm texting a person or not. Is this an AI? Is this a person? And I think we're getting to the point where that's where we won't even care, and we won't know, we won't care. We just want to get our answer solved, and it'll be solved either by text, by voice, by video, even, and all be taken care of for us. Not just with the support, but also on the sales side.
That's a great point, right? If the AI could, I know there's a feature in the new iPhone where the AI picks up the phone call. Yeah. And ask, hey, who you are, what's the reason for calling, and then transfers it to you. What if it did it all the time and you wouldn't even have to pick up your cell phone to call an Uber or where you are. Hey, identify the location where I'm at, call me an Uber for XYZ. Who called today? These are the messages that were called. Even better, you have lots of email accounts, right? And the AI is like, hey, Rafsan, you have actually 3 priority emails and you have to check back in the next hour. Can you please find a stop or somewhere where you can respond to these emails? These are clients.
Yeah.
Problem solved, right?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect scenario, and that's kind of where we're getting to. Uh, I want to shift gears just a little bit. I want you to tell me a little bit about your book, why you decided to write it, and what it's about.
So that's a very good question. My book is Human Way to AI. And the book explains how to be friends with AI. How do you treat AI like a modern day shovel? And here's the thing about shovel, right? We never think about it. It's been there for generations. If I leave a shovel by the road, it'll probably disappear next to the tree, right? Like people don't think about it, but whenever you need it, you'll use that shovel to dig. Like in the army, we used to know that we had to create, a little bit trenches and have tents and, just for training purposes, camp out. We use shovel heavily. And that is the same thing with AI. If we start using AI as a tool and make it more utility driven, we'll get to the point where it's like a shovel and we don't even think about it. We call the Uber, we call, hey, can you leave a message for my wife because I'm leaving and I'll be home by 7 p.m. and I'm going XYZ. It just works as like a shovel and you don't even think about it. You forget that the AI is right there. It's the next phone, it's the next telecommunication. I would say more than the phone, it's human augmentation,
Yeah.
right? This AI is being augmented to human, and it is a tool, and we should use it as such. And we shouldn't treat it like it's a solution to everything.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I was just thinking as you were saying that, it reminded me of like this weekend. My wife and I went out to dinner with some friends, and when we got in the car to go to the restaurant, we talked about ordering the kids pizza. And I assumed she was going to do it. She assumed I was going to do it. We get to the restaurant. We're like halfway through our meal. She's like, "Did you ever order the kids pizza?" I'm like, "No." But how cool would it have been just to say, "Hey Siri, order the kids pizza. Just get the usual," and like I don't even have to worry about it. I don't have to, go in
Yeah.
with the app, download, any of that.
Yeah, absolutely. To scan the QR code. And what if you don't have a cell phone?
Yeah.
How do you order then? I mean, there's so many apps right there. I know that there's links where it stores your credit card and it's verified, it's very secure, and it identifies you whenever you're trying to purchase a product in certain sites that has affiliations with that link, right? So what if there was like something very common, like, hey, what payment do you use? I use OrionQ's Q card, right? Identifies you. You tell it, hey, this is Rafsan. Identify me using my voice and my other questions, right? Identifies you. And there is some sort of pyramid or some sort of speaker that sits in the center of the dining table. And you just basically say, hey, I would love to know like what the orders are. The screen's changing based on your personalized preference of pizza or whatever you want. And then you order those things and it comes in and how much tip would you leave? I would leave 25% for the great, if anything change, what is your feedback on this food and service? And the people are actually bringing in the food, talking to the customer. If any changes happen, they run out of food, run out of some sort of ingredient, they can come back and say, Search, we can't provide you this food at this time, but we can do something else. But what happens is now that AI, the information exchange from here to the kitchen of the receipt and looking, it's seamless. So the waiter or the waitress actually have a chance, an opportunity to actually connect with the customer now and to provide great customer service because they don't have to remember the food that they ordered or write it down in a little piece of paper and lose it. Sorry, what did you order again? None of that. All these problems will be solved. We don't have to memorize everything.
Yeah, and you can take it even a step further and be like, I have this certain food allergy. What can you make without this food allergy? And what wine pairs best with this meal?
Absolutely. And you don't even have to carry that heavy wallet because you walk out of the store, it's transacted already because it knows you, it verified you. Even you could do biometric verification, right? If so, that's the future that I see for people making life easier. Of course, it comes with a cybersecurity issue, data collection, cybersecurity. Now, how do you handle it? That question is debatable. But what I say is that we got so accustomed to everything being in the cloud now everybody's focusing on the cloud. Even the hackers, the bad guys are like, all right, we're going to focus on the cloud. What if you had some sort of system that's hybrid, some sort of keys burnt into this enclave that's a physical enclave for your solution, for your office, hidden somewhere that provides the encryption for your office? Wouldn't there was like a hybrid solution that could give you the data answer that you need. And the sensitive data stays with your, some sort of replication that gets replicated, but you can't even read it, right? Because it's so cryptic. Anyways, these are some of the things that I think about, that how can we solve this problem? And, time and time again, I go back to the basics, the roots of computer science. And I think about it because it is so important to understand how zeros and ones work, how servers work, how network load balancers work, what is cybersecurity, what is gateway. It's because if we lose that skill and the AI keeps, wrappers and AI, and it's doing things for me, it's writing code for me, code generators. If we lose that fundamental knowledge, we won't be able to optimize the engines, to optimize our systems and AI or anything, right? So it's very important to know the fundamentals. And, I think that still applies, even though if you're a vibe coder, that's great, nothing against you. But if you can learn the fundamentals, now you're an awesome vibe coder that can go back and reverse engineer and fix the system.
Yeah, and as a part-time computer science professor, I think absolutely you need to learn the basics before you start doing that. And we do that in my class, even my computer science 101 class. We teach basics of HTML, CSS. And we have the students build a website from scratch with just Notepad. And then we take that website and we say, oh, now show me how you can enhance this using AI. How can you ask, Gemini or ChatGPT or Grok or something to make this website look better, to match certain color schemes, to add some videos in it or something like that. And,
Sure.
so you learn the basics of how to write the code and how it should work, and then enhance it with something that's, beyond your skill set.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that gives you so much more power, right? For example, I started coding when I was in 2010, right? So I've been chasing this coding education, getting my bachelor's degree, all that for a long, long time. And, what I've learned is that there is great power in knowing that you can run a compute in AWS, and you can also spin up an EC2 instance or a Linux server and run whatever you want manually using bash scripting. You can even have Python in there, whatever you'd like. Do we need platform as a service? Sure. If we have a lot of infrastructure as a code to deploy, sure, we can use platform as a service. But what if you don't need that sort of abstraction? You should be able to choose, I want to use my local computer versus a Linux compute versus a virtual machine, or, we're going to go full on code, platform as a service and deploy the code there. So yeah, I get it. Drop down integrations are amazing, but it's also really good to understand what are some of those things that build these integrations as easy integratable data engineering and more, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Rafsan, this has been a great conversation. And how can people pick up a copy of your book, learn more about what you're doing, and find out more about OrionQ?
Absolutely. So OrionQ, if you type Rafsan Bhuiyan, you can see my LinkedIn, and if you really want to know, I can drop in some links below for my stamp store, for my LinkedIn. I was also in Jeffrey Powers' show, The Ecozine, and I also was in podcast for Particle 41. So yeah, pleasure being here. And if you want to find me, click on those links, especially visit my LinkedIn, because there's a lot of cool AI adoption stuff that I post there. And also, there's a great news that's coming up is that we're partnering with global AI advisors to build courses for revenue operations sales team. So that's going to be, stay tuned for that. That's going to be very cool. Thank you so much.
All right. And I'll link those to you in the show notes at geekleader.com so people can go there and click through. And thanks so much for coming on the show.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Please go to geekleader.com to learn more about what this guest is up to, click on their links, and connect with them online. I would also greatly appreciate it if you could leave me a rating and review in Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the show. And make sure you've subscribed if you haven't already. And if you feel so inclined, you can leave me a tip by going to geekleader.com/tip.